Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Wednesday, the 17th of April. Just to let you know, this is my last one for April because tomorrow I head back to Alberta to fetch my husband and move him to Brandon. And so that'll take a week and a bit. So I will be back up with Church at Home with Rachel and Gospel on the Go on May the 1st. So please bear with me. Hang in while I get my family back together and we end up all in the same place. I'm recording again today from Mount Carmel, the conference center, the spiritual conference center in Niagara Falls. And today, as I record, it's normally I think I'd say it's a miserable rainy day. It's not miserable. It's beautiful. It is peaceful. It is gentle. And the rain is falling, which we need so desperately. And it's greening the grass. And the rain itself and this space lends itself to a sense of contemplation and peacefulness. I had some conversations this morning, and one of them was a conversation with an elder who is a bishop in the church. And he was speaking to me about truth and the importance of people. We were talking about residential schools and people who have been abused, and the importance of them being able to face their abuser or to be able to share their story. And then I went into a gospel-based discipleship Bible study time in which we talked about the importance of speaking truth and recognized after reading the gospel that sometimes we need to hear it again and again. Sometimes we need to say it again and again. And it made me realize that when I speak of a memory, the first time I share that memory, it's truth, it's what I remember, I share it. But it's like priming the pump with water. Do you remember ever having to do that for a cool glass of crisp drink of water out in a farm or something, where you got to pump that lever until finally it starts to flow, and then when it does start to flow, it really flows. Then it's hard to stop it. Well, I think speaking truth is like that. When people need to tell their stories, when they need to speak their truth, they start, and they may start haltingly, they may start hesitatingly because they don't know how they're going to be received, or maybe it's the first time they've spoken the truth. Particularly people who are speaking the truth of when they've been hurt. But when the first time they speak the truth, they're not going to remember every single detail. They're not going to say everything they're feeling. It may be halting. It may be filled with silences. It may be filled with tears, maybe even laughter or joy. But it's only going to have a certain amount of the truth. But then the story happens again and is told again. And each time it is told, there's another layer, because it's like priming that pump. Once we begin to tell the story, then the story begins to come out in its fullness. And that's why it's so important for people who have been victimized, people who are sad, people who are grieving, to have the chance, the opportunity, the privilege, the space to be able to tell their story again and again. And it's so easy for those of us who are listening to, you told us that last time. But if we listen carefully, we recognize that they didn't tell us that last time. Or as they're telling us this time, there's a different tone of voice, a different inflection, a different detail is added or not added, it might be removed. And those very things are the things that help to tell the story. We all know that our memories don't lie, but they change, they adjust. As we grow, we reinterpret our memories. That's normal. But it's still those memories we have, and however we are interpreting them in the moment, it's truth for us. It is speaking of how we're feeling, of what we're processing, of what we are reflecting on, what has changed us, and how we have had to adapt because of those memories. And I think it's really important that we be patient with one another to do just that, to listen to those stories and not say, yeah, I've heard that before. Because the fact is we haven't. We may think we've heard the facts, the individual things, the information of that story before. But each time the story is told, we learn a new thing. And the storyteller quite possibly learns a new thing as well. As Christians, that's what we're doing when we tell people about our faith. But the biggest thing I think is really important is that as Christians, when we tell people about our faith, we don't have something written down that we memorize to talk about our faith. We talk about the truth as we have experienced it. The good, the bad, the indifferent, the highs and the lows. We speak about our faith. We speak about those things that are important to us, those things that in this moment, as we're telling our story, are being highlighted. Because there's a reason for it. It may be because we need that truth to come out. It may be because we never thought of this particular thing this way until it's coming out of our mouth. And that's where we're at right now. That's why it's important right now. But it could also be that the Spirit knows that the person we're speaking to needs to hear that particular part of our truth. That the way that we're expressing what we're feeling, the words we choose to use, the words we don't use, the silences we have, or the words we fill up the silence with, are exactly what that person needs at that point in time in their life for them to hear the good news of Jesus Christ. We have become a culture that does not really celebrate and savor storytelling. We need to get back to that because we all have stories to tell. All you have to do is go to a Tim Hortons or a Starbucks or a local bar, the Watering Hole, and watch what's happening. It's storytelling. People are sharing their truth. Now, their understanding of that truth may be different tomorrow, but in this very moment, that is their truth. And in this very moment, maybe there's something in their truth that we need to learn, or something in our truth that we're sharing that they need to learn. Layering truth upon truth upon truth is not simply a recitation of facts. It is an exploration of beauty. It is the creation of the fabric, of the tapestry of a life lived. And each truth that is spoken, every story that is told, adds to the detail and the beauty of that story, that life. Whether it's listening to our Indigenous brothers and sisters telling us the stories of the horrendous things that happened in residential schools, or listening to the stories of women who had to fight to get the vote, fight to be able to get a job, to work in the corporate world, who are now saying it's happening all over again. Whether it's listening to stories of farmers telling us about the days they remember the last time there was a drought. We must listen not with ears that hear only, I've heard this before, but we must listen with hearts that recognize that truth is being spoken into this moment, and that truth is as important to the person who's speaking it as it can be to the one who's hearing it. We need to do ourselves the good service of listening to story, not assuming that we've heard it all before, but paying the respect owed to the one who is telling their story. Because from it, worlds can change, ours and theirs. Thank you for listening to my stories over the last few years. I will be back in May, on May 1st, with Church at Home with Rachel, and I look forward to that as we begin a new story, the story of Rob and I both in Brandon and Shiloh, a story of what it will be for me to be a bishop, the next chapter of this story of Church at Home with Rachel and Gospel on the Go. God bless you all. Have a great rest of your month, and I'll see you when I get back.